must wage what I have called total war against public enemy number one.
I support a change in law to end federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
That marijuana, pot, grass, whatever you want to call it, is probably the most dangerous drug.
Some think there won't be room for them in jail. We'll make room.
I experimented with marijuana a time or two, and I didn't like it and didn't inhale.
And one major responsibility is to encourage people to use less drugs.
Entirely legitimate topic for debate.
Radical Rant.
Welcome back, everyone. 46 after the hour, and today in the Radical Rant, we're once again talking about the public perception of marijuana and as we move forward, how people understand marijuana and those who use it. Oftentimes when I discuss marijuana policy and politics and culture, I refer back to the LGBT movement, the gay and lesbian movement, and their struggle for equality and civil rights in this country, because we do have some similarities in common. You know, smoking marijuana isn't so much like being black, for example. Being black is something that's pretty obvious to every observer. There's nothing you can hide. But being a marijuana smoker can be a bit like being gay, in that you can closet yourself. You can hide your identity, your likes, your lifestyle, if you will, from the general public. Now, some people might have their suspicions. In the case of the gay and lesbian community, you know, some people will claim to have so-called gaydar and be able to identify or who they suspect might be gay based on mannerisms and vocal inflection and so forth. And likewise, this happens with the cannabis community. This happens with us marijuana smokers, where people will suspect that we might be marijuana smokers due to how much we laugh at a certain joke or the type of music we like or how long our hair might be. And in both respects, there's been a growing acceptance, especially by younger people, for gay and lesbian citizen rights and for marijuana use and marijuana users' rights. And I believe that has corresponded with coming out of the closet. As gay people came out of the closet and were more visible, you know, thinking back to Billy Crystal's character on Soap from the 70s, Jody, one of the first gay characters on mainstream television, to today, where you have shows like Modern Family that show, you know, gay married couples. It's just become no big deal to the younger generation, especially as they've become more and more accustomed to it, as they've seen more and more out and proud gay people and realized, hey, they're gay. So what? They still go to work. They still drive cars. They still pay taxes. They still have kids and care about them and vote. And they're conservatives and liberals and they're all over the place. They're no big deal. And I believe we're seeing a similar thing happen with marijuana use. As more and more people come out as marijuana smokers, it becomes easier and easier for people to recognize, especially young people to recognize, that marijuana use is no big deal. And aside from the marijuana use, we're all alike and we all deserve the same rights, privileges, and responsibilities. But there is a substantial difference in the gay rights movement and in the marijuana rights movement. And that is, outing yourself as a gay person did not make you a criminal. Yeah, yes, you could lose your job. You could get fired. You could be kicked out of, I mean, there's all sorts of terrible things, injustices that gay people have suffered when they come out of the closet. There's not to diminish that. But police officers could not arrest you, not since Lawrence v. Texas, at least. Now, in the case of a marijuana smoker, we face those discriminations, kicked out of the, fired, not hired, and so forth, with even greater legal support for those abuses. In the cases of gay folks, a lot of times it's just kind of culture and the way people are reacting, and there's not, written in the law that you can legally do that. It's just not written that you can't, right? In our case for marijuana smokers, though, a lot of that stuff is specifically written because of who we are, and there are tests to determine who we are. Gay people peeing in a cup, that was never going to detect whether or not they're gay. But marijuana smokers peeing in a cup can get you that scarlet letter with just a few nanograms of metabolite. So where this leads to is this understanding and this recognition that the public has for what it is to be a marijuana smoker. And as it's been illegal for so long, that limited understanding of who a marijuana smoker was confined to the narrow constraints of what I call the iceberg of marijuana smoke. The iceberg is that the pot smokers at the top are above the waterline. Those are the pot smokers you see. Just like an iceberg, most of it is submerged below the waterline. But the ones you can see in that marijuana iceberg are your hippies and your tie-dyes and your iconoclasts and loners and self-made entrepreneurs and artists and musicians and all the people who could be out and proud or didn't give a shit about being out and proud, had nothing to lose if they were out and proud. And so the association in the public's mind of what marijuana smokers are wild-eyed and idealistic and paranoid and conspiracy theorist and the libertine rock and rollers and the far lefty liberal writers and so forth. The wild fringes of marijuana smokers. And to a public that doesn't smoke marijuana generally, maybe tried it in their youth, they've come to associate that fringiness with the marijuana, that those people must have been just regular normal people like you and me, but then they smoked the wacky tobacco and look what it did to them. They got all tatted up. They got all kooky. They grew their hair long. They started talking about 9/11 truth or whatever the hell else they're talking about. Contrails, save the whales, whatever it might have been. And regardless of how right or wrong any of those positions may be, it can be identified with becoming fringy, becoming radical, becoming out of the ordinary. That it somehow substantially changed who these people were. And of course, that's a misunderstanding due to confirmation and selection bias. That's that 10% of the iceberg you saw were already that way. Those people already were kooky, iconoclastic, and strange and weird and all those other adjectives. And they smoke pot, right? It's correlation is not causation in this case. And what they don't see is that 90% below the waterline, the plumbers and the teachers and the doctors and the lawyers and the construction workers and all the other people who smoke pot who are just average run-of-the-mill normal folks. They're on a bowling league. They go hunting with their friends. They work volunteer time at the library, whatever, just normal, average American stuff. And when they smoke pot, they're still regular, normal, average American folks who still believe regular, normal, average American things. And what got me to thinking about this from this perspective was that simple quote from one of my favorite activists in the world, Sharon Ravert, the executive director of Peachtree Normal, who's as nice Southern mom, conservative business lady as you could be. You know, right out of central casting. Someone who could go meet any Midwestern mom with a conservative background and the two of them would be, you know, swapping tails over punch and pie, right? Just total down-home person. And she was discussing how in Georgia, they've got an opportunity to move forward with something medical marijuana there. And yet it keeps getting bogged down over whether or not it should be one of those CBD only situations. We're only going to legalize one molecule in cannabis, just the one that doesn't get you high. Regardless of the fact that most of the people that get benefit from that CBD don't really get the full benefit till they add the THC. Not to mention the people for whom CBD is worthless and THC is highly medicinal. Forget that. The discussion's whether or not it's just going to be CBD only or something broader than that. And she came up with what I would consider the quote of 2014 when it came to marijuana reform. And that was, y'all are just afraid of the word high. Y'all are just afraid of the word high. So succinctly sums up what this is truly about. The consideration here, the fear is that if we allow cannabis medicines with THC in them to be used on the children, why, the children will get high. And what the hell does that mean? First of all, If you're a parent that's ever given your kid one of those dextromethorphan cough syrups, an antihistamine, or God forbid your kid's on Adderall or Ritalin right now, you got no room to talk about being worried about getting a kid high. If you've ever had to give your kid a painkiller from dental work or from hospitals or whatever, if you've ever taken your kid in for a laughing gas treatment with marijuana or with the dentist, if you've ever done those situations, the rank hypocrisy you are exhibiting by worrying about marijuana's high is so great as to defy explanation. But see, that's not their concern. Medicines, in their mind, don't get kids high. They don't really think of that as high. High isn't a scientific designation. High cannot be measured. High is a cultural construct of thrill-seeking recreational hedonists purposefully altering their mind and consciousness in dangerous ways. That's what high is. Now, what I just described very accurately describes drinking, alcohol overdose. Purposefully altering your consciousness in a harmful way as to distort your perceptions and personality. That's alcohol to a T. But isn't it interesting that alcohol's never called getting high? You don't get high on alcohol. You drink alcohol and you might get drunk on alcohol. Isn't that amazing how powerful the construct of framing is when it comes to discussing our use of drugs and medicines and alcohol and so forth? That these legislators are willing to let children suffer, knowingly let children and adults suffer, not getting THC that has been shown to be effective for their conditions, for the fear of a word. For the fear of the word high, that it might get a kid high. When scientifically what high is called euphoria. A feeling of wellness, a good feeling. Feeling good. How incredible is it in our society that the need to punish people for feeling good is so great? We will knowingly allow children to suffer from the fear of the word high. So for 2015, if you want to have a New Year's resolution, perhaps one of them would be never using the word high with respect to the effect you get from cannabis, or from marijuana use. It's tough. It's going to be tough for me, but that's what I'm going to try. I'm going to get lifted. I might get euphoric. I might get relaxed. But from now on, I'm not going to get high anymore. That's all the time we got for Hour 1. Thanks for joining us. Stay tuned. Hour 2 is next. Toker Talk Radio. We'll take your calls at 971-533-7111. For everyone here at Roller J Studios, I'm Radical Russ. Until next time, take care of each other, Tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.
You plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it.